Assalamualaikum and konnichiwa. Thank you for joining today's episode of Academic Speak with me, Dr. Zalia. And in today's episode, we will be discussing the top 3 questions that you should be asking yourself before pursuing a PhD. Deciding to pursue your postgraduate studies is no easy feat and usually takes a lot of thinking, rationalizing, and a lot of time. There's a lot of questions that you need to ask: which university you want to go to, which program you want to go to, which lab, what's it going to be like, how long is it going to take. But even on the most basic level, I believe that there are 3 very fundamental questions that you should be asking yourself before you even decide to start doing research on everything else. And the reason I think answering these questions are important is because even if you have done all the research on everything else but leave these 3 questions unanswered, it will definitely affect how your program or how your studies are going to go in the next couple of years. Number 1. So this one is a no-brainer. It is, of course, asking yourself why. Why are you doing this, or why do you want to pursue your PhD? Now, this question might sound very basic and simple, but if you really think about it, it's quite difficult to answer. So a lot of people do it for a lot of different reasons, of course. And among the issues that is prevalent in this why you're doing it question is the misconception of what a PhD can and cannot do for you. So a lot of people will easily assume that a PhD will always mean that you will get a better pay or better recognition because of the title of the degree. So, I want to do my PhD because I want to get better pay at my job, or I want to get a PhD because I think it will increase my chances of being hired since, I have expertise in so and so. And of course, there are also cases where people decide to pursue their PhD because they are unable to land a job and decide to continue studying instead. So before embarking into this PhD program, keep in mind that better pay, recognition, or maybe fame, or whoever thinks that there is fame in it, is not something that's guaranteed. It's not something that's there. So you really have to know why you actually want to be doing it. If you are already in a university and having a PhD will help you bump up to a better position, yeah, all right, then at least because you're already in the job scope. Or if you are also a researcher in a certain company and they want more expertise in a subject and they fund you for your PhD, then those are also good reasons why you can actually think about, I can consider actually doing my PhD, because you can see reason why you actually want to do it. For the people that I have met and have the pleasure of talking to and discussing about why they did their PhD, and even myself, why we decide to pursue a PhD, is usually involving the fact that we do want a career in academia. We do want to pursue a position in a university or pursue a career in research itself. And I think that is true for a vast majority of the PhD students. So before anything else, do think about really why you have decided to embark on this PhD journey. And another reason why asking this why question is really important is because during your PhD, during that journey, there will be times where things get very difficult and things will get very tough. And if you lose yourself and you lose sight of why you are actually doing this in the first place, it's going to be harder for you to pull yourself through it. If you have the motivation and you have the determination and you know why exactly you're doing something, then it will definitely give you the push to actually continue and pull through the whole thing. Question number 2, what is it gonna cost? So this question can be divided into 2 sections, which is first, what is it gonna cost in the financial part, and of course, what's it gonna cost in your social family life. So let's talk about the financial part first. So PhD programs are not cheap. They are very long and they can take a lot of time. You don't know how long it can take for you to finish. So with that, it will continue to eat up on your finances. A lot of people get into a lot of debt due to their student loans. And like I said, going into a PhD if you think that, okay, it's all right that I'm spending all my money on here now because when I get a better job, this PhD is going to help me get a better job and all that, so it's going to help me pay it off. Like I said, that is not guaranteed. In fact, you don't even know what kind of job you're going to land. It's still not guaranteed that it can help, or the PhD itself will be able to help you pay off the debts that it has cost you. So it's something important to think about. If you are financially stable, then that's great. But if not, always try and find an option with funding or scholarship. And I know those are not easy. Those can be very difficult to come by. But like for the US, like most of their PhD programs are all funded, and it will take you a couple cycles, and it's extremely competitive. But if you can secure yourself a funding or secure yourself a scholarship, then that will definitely be more beneficial for you in pursuing your PhD. Or like an earlier scenario that I mentioned, where certain companies can actually fund their employees to pursue their PhD so that they will have more expertise. So in that kind of situation, I think it's also a good thing to consider, or maybe ask if you know that they anywhere where you are working at will consider actually funding you to pursue something so that you will be able to be beneficial to them afterwards. So yes, funding is important. Really ask yourself how much it's going to cost you, and is it really going to be worth it of what financially it's going to cost you. The second part is regarding the cost of your family and maybe social life. So when you decide to pursue a PhD, it will usually take you places. It will take you, because you have to go to the university, right? So some universities are at different places, different countries. So you will have to uproot and move, and not for just a minimum of 3 years for most countries, but for other places it can be up to a maximum of 5 to even 7 years for a PhD program. And uprooting and moving will always mean that you will have to leave family and friends behind. And if you have a partner, it also or if you have already children, that will also mean either leaving them behind or bringing them over there with you. And like I said, PhD funding is not cheap. Mostly they'll just fund you for your program and will not include anything for your partner and children. So there's a lot to think about at that part as well. And what is it gonna cost for your partner and child as well? Moving somewhere else, finding a different job, adapting. In those kind of cases, it's not just something that affects you, but also affects your family as well. This is something that me and Kohin went through. The first time being when I started my PhD program. We were still dating at that time, but we're in the process of getting married. So thankfully, things worked out in the sense that he also got a scholarship here, and we were able to make things work and stay here together and in the same vicinity. And that's also a good thing because our universities are not too far apart. We had this conversation again when Kohin started applying for PhD programs in the US, Australia, and Singapore. And even before the application process, we sat down and we had to talk about it, in the sense that what happens if he gets accepted and how we would continue our life as a married couple. So there's a lot to talk about and a lot to discuss with each other. So even in that case, before he started applying, we had these kinds of conversations. And it's also not just me. He also had to sit down and talk to his parents and ask how they would feel about it, because we have aging parents and we really would want to take care of them and be nearby as most as we can. So these kinds of things will happen when you decide to pursue a PhD, especially if it's somewhere further or overseas. And lastly, for question number 3, what's waiting for you after PhD? Usually we are very focused on entering the program and going through the program and spending all our time in the program, that we don't actually see what happens after that, because the graduation process or the finishing process seems like so far ahead in the finish line that we don't really want to think about what's after that. We're just like, I just want to focus on getting there, and then after that only I'm going to think about it. But when you are applying for PhD programs, one of the most frequent questions that the panel will ask you is, what do you plan on doing after your PhD? What do you want to do with it? And this can actually relate back to the first question of why exactly are you doing it, because if it's related, then of course it'll be probably easier to answer. I want to do my PhD because I want a career in academia. So after my PhD, I'll probably apply for a faculty position, that kind of thing. But for some other people, they might actually go into it for the research, or I want to do my PhD because I want to be trained and I want skills, so that after my PhD, I can go to various places which need my skills, and I can apply my skills there where it is needed, so on and so forth. So it's good for you to see, or actually have an idea of where you see yourself after your PhD, as far off as it may seem. Will you be continuing in that country? Do you want to come back to your own country? Things like that are also really important for you to plan out, because if you don't see what's going to happen to you after your PhD, it's going to be very hard for you to finish. I think I mentioned in my previous videos about the various mental health issues that come with continuing your studies, such as imposter syndrome, identity issues, and these can stick with you, especially when you are so afraid to be parted with academia, and you're like, oh no, I just gotta stick with it, I can't let go of it. Having a clear idea of what's waiting for you at the end of the project, at the end of your program, will help you boost yourself through it, or also give you the motivation to finish, in my opinion at least. Alright guys, so that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I know I said earlier that these questions might seem very simple and very basic, but when you really think about it, they are hard questions to answer. Even for myself, when I had to sit down and ask myself again these same exact questions, even though I'm already at the end of the program and going through these things, it was pretty mind-boggling. It took me a while. It wasn't something I was like, yep, this is why I'm doing it, or like this is what it cost me and whatnot. And even just now when we were talking about cost, to be honest, if I was not sponsored, if I did not get the chance to have this scholarship, I didn't think I would have actually pursued my PhD. I think I would just maintain with my master's and maybe continue working after that, because yeah, like I said, it's expensive, and you don't know if the job that you're going to have is actually going to even help you pay off your debt for your studies anyway. So yeah, it was really helpful for me to think about these things, and also for Kohin as well, as he's also embarking on a similar journey itself too. We'll see how that goes. I've also recently discussed my personal experience doing this PhD on the Enablers podcast. You guys can check them out down below. They are a great podcast talking about a lot of different issues, and they upload every week, so have a listen if you guys are interested. Anyway, that's all. Hope you guys are staying safe. I don't know when I'll be able to post the next video, because we're probably gonna empty the house soon, but yeah, and take care, and assalamualaikum. Deciding to pursue your postgraduate studies is no easy feat. It takes a lot of thinking, rationalizing, and of course a lot of time. Yang.
Okay. Okay, apa. Okay.